So nobody was probably get the yard one every year. Yeah, they'll just get them. Well, I mean, that gives you the green lights. It's not originally. One night. Use that. And I didn't do it right. Very big. I could let me take it over the base.
Well, you're gonna sit there? In case I need to. Okay, we need to scoot over a little bit so our speakers don't get crowded.
Well, once we're past Paul.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So are we live yet? Okay. Alrighty. We're staying. They're staying up there. Okay, it's 7:30 and we're gonna get started. All right, thank you. Okay, so our opening slide tonight. Well, welcome to the October meeting of the Johnson Space and Astronomical Society. Our opening slide tonight has a very beautiful picture of M45, the Pleiades, by Stan. So, Stan, you want to tell us anything about your picture?
The picture on there, every employee around was like, it could be fast to the location, Dark County.
Yeah, it was dark. All right, thanks, Stan. That's a beautiful picture. Okay, so here's our agenda for this evening. Before we get started, we'd like to welcome anyone who is your first time here. If your first time here, raise your hand, tell us your name, how you found out about us, and what your interest is in astronomy. Anybody first time here? Anybody willing to admit it's your first time here? All right, good enough. Okay, so we have two email distributions, one for meetings only, one for general distribution. If you want to be on meetings only, send an email to Ron. If you want to be on general distribution, send one to David, the lower email address. If you can't copy those down or take a picture of them, there's tear off tabs on a clipboard up by the back door. Okay, reminder to speakers, when you get up here, please use this little red pointer so that people online can see what you're pointing at. The stream mic is in this podium laptop. The auditorium mic is here, so you can't move around too much because the people online can't hear you. Also, I was reminded, and I appreciate the reminder, that when we're having speakers up here, please everyone be quiet and let the speaker speak, because we've had issues with someone will begin their presentation and someone will just start talking in the middle of their presentation of the person next to them. So that's really disrespectful to our speakers, and it's irritating to everybody else. So please don't do it. All righty. Our main presenter tonight is Paul Maley with Solar Eclipse and Northern Lights JSC Watch Polls. So Paul's a remote speaker, obviously, because he's not here. And thanks to Trevor here, we're going to have a remote speaker. These are just a blast. But before Paul starts, let me tell you a little bit about him. Paul D. Maley has been a member of the JSCAS since 1969. Worked as a NASA contractor for 41 years, supporting MOD and the Flight Director Office, and retired to Arizona in 2016. Paul began organizing solar eclipse expeditions in 1970 and recently completed a trip to see the partial solar eclipse in New Zealand on September 22nd. He will be leading his next astronomy trip at the end of October to see the Northern Lights in Iceland, followed by 2 more aurora viewing expeditions to Iceland in March and October 2026. Paul has had a number of accomplishments, both in and unrelated to astronomy, including having the first binary asteroid to be named for an amateur astronomer, has traveled to 308 separate countries, territories, and islands, has observed 87 eclipses of the sun, which is more than anyone living or dead, led 30 Northern Light trips to Alaska for JSC, and 54 eclipse groups on land to land, sea, and air. As of October 1st, he has recorded 977 eclipses of stars by asteroids. He has been an active satellite tracker since 1960 and created and maintains a web page of recovered space debris worldwide since the beginning of the space age. Paul continues to organize solar eclipse expeditions as part of his multi-decade public outreach on behalf of the JSCAS. He has been the recipient of the Bruce Blair Medal from the Western Amateur Astronomers and the Gordon Myers Amateur Achievement Award from the Astronomical Society of the Pacific. In 2027, he is responsible for chartering 2 ships in the Mediterranean Sea for the current longest solar eclipse in our lifetimes, with 1 completely booked full already. For the total eclipse of April 8, 2024, he was interviewed by CNN, Fox, BBC, and the Weather Channel, providing his advice on how to safely observe the eclipse. With that, join me in welcoming our remote speaker, Paul Maley.
Okay, I'm on. Can you hear me?
You're good to go, Paul.
Okay. Can you see my first slide?
Yes.
Okay. I live in Carefree, Arizona, and some people think that it's a fake name, but in fact, it's a true place. It really is carefree out here, and it's just a great place to be since observing in Houston and Clear Lake is virtually impossible. Let me go down a series of slides that I've tried to prepare since my last talk more than a year ago. We have some really great views of the sky out here. The farther away from the Phoenix area that you get, the better the views are, and the landscape is really spectacular. The other night I was observing an event away from here, and a donkey came up to me. This is a photo of that with the full moon in the background, and you have to be really careful around here because you never know what sort of animals will sneak up on you in the middle of the night. So as part of my outreach to people, I give talks. This one is at the Cave Creek Library. Last year, I have another one scheduled next month here, talking about the upcoming 2027 eclipse. Last year, I was asked to speak on CNN. This is Richard Quest, and of course, every time I got on TV, I made sure to mention JSCAS specifically so they'd know about our group. I was also interviewed by Fox News, Fox Business, Fox Weather, and some other publications that decided to promote the April 2024 eclipse. So last year, I went to Easter Island in the South Pacific to see a partial, actually an annular eclipse of the sun. And I've been taking the retired approach and observing a little more casually these days. I don't drag a lot of equipment with me, and I try to handhold my photography, and it seems to be working pretty well. and I don't have any problems with customs. On the ship that we had last year in Mexico for the April 8th eclipse, I gave several talks, one of which had to do with where the planetary alignments would be during that period of time. And it was fun to do that with all those people on board. So there are a lot of folks who you perhaps don't know that have an interest in amateur astronomy. There's some people who appear on TV or in past TV shows. Here's someone who appeared on Star Trek Voyager named Tim Russ, who has one of these unistellar telescopes that are mainly used nowadays for recording eclipses of stars by asteroids. Leonard Nimoy, of course, is a legendary actor who played on Star Trek, and he's clearly an amateur astronomer. This is him at an observatory somewhere in this country. I'm not sure if this is Lick Observatory or not. Perhaps a lesser known person is Mikio Fujioka, who happened to be on an observation deck at an observatory, and he fell off and died. So that was somewhat unfortunate, but he made the news as a result of that. Now, here is a quote that appeared in news media a number of years ago. And I'm not sure if you guys know who this is all about, but it happens to be about Johnny Carson, who used to be on The Tonight Show and run it exquisitely way back in the 80s and the 70s. So this is Johnny Carson with his Celestron 14 at his house in Malibu, which just sold this past month for $114 million. Not the telescope, but the house with everything in it. In the past, his interest in astronomy has appeared in a number of different places. This is when he was a bit younger, and there's a media quote here quoting him being at home with his large telescope. And if you know anything about telescopes, you know this is a 3.5-inch Questar, and it's not very large. So a lot of the times, we in the JSCAS need to get the media right in terms of their explanation of astronomical things and events and interpretations. And this is one of those things where they didn't get it right. So from my backyard in my pool, I can look over, I can see one of the houses that Johnny Carson owned here in the Phoenix area. I'm not sure which ex-wife owned this house, but I can see it clearly from my house. And when we moved here, we were told that was it. So when I take my eclipse camera and attempt to zoom in with my 2000 millimeter lens, I can see the house a little bit closer. But in the 10 years I've been here, I've never seen anyone come out of that house or go into it. So being in Houston has presented a number of challenges historically. For example, the next total eclipse of the sun visible from Houston will be April 14th, 2200. So you have to wait a pretty long time, and I don't think anybody currently listening to my talk is going to be around at that time. And that's part of the reason I travel to eclipses around the world in order to see things that we'll never be able to see here. There is a naked eye nova that has been pending to erupt since May of last year, and it has not erupted yet. Perhaps sometime this year it will. It's in Corona Borealis, predicted to reach 2nd magnitude. The Aurora Borealis is another great thing to witness. We saw it here in Arizona, May 10th, and there was another date, I think it was in September of last year. A really unusual situation since we have the maximum of the solar cycle occurring 2024 and 2025. And so it was great to actually see this. I'd never seen the Aurora Borealis at this low a latitude. I always have to fly up to Alaska, latitude 65, 66 degrees in order to see it. So it's pretty amazing. A great comet with a huge tail has not been seen here since 1965, when Comet Ikea-Seki, that was visible in broad daylight, was clearly visible here and in Houston. And then the great meteor shower of all time that I was lucky enough to see when I was in my undergraduate work in November of 1966, when we had in South Texas a rate of 10,000 meteors per hour recorded there, whereas in Arizona, the rate was 150,000. The next total eclipse of the moon, unfortunately, won't be visible in Houston until 2048. So it's a long time for spectacular things to be seen. But there are other events that can be spotted. If you have the appropriate software, you can see the ISS passing in front of the moon. Here's a couple of sequential photographs taken with standard video equipment. And then in April of last year, during our solar eclipse cruise in Mexico, I was aware that there was a Starlink launch from Vandenberg that was going to occur sometime during our cruise. And sure enough, we had spectacularly clear skies in Baja California, and saw this absolutely spectacular flight of the Falcon 9 booster with various satellites on board. Now, we've seen a number of these launches from the Phoenix area. This was taken July the 18th of this year from the White Tank Mountains, which are on the southwest side of Phoenix. But there have been several others that I did not see because I was out of town or we had some weather issues. In order to anticipate things perhaps that are not the greatest of sights, one has to pay attention to what's going on in the launching of space satellites. So on the left side, you can see what appears to be supernova 2019. That's in the NGC 5353 galaxy. This is on the left. And then on the right, the same photograph that's a little bit enlarged, along with a bunch of Starlink satellites passing across the same field of view. The Starlink launch sequence is so dramatic, and so there's so many of them now, and so numerous in terms of space flight, that I can typically see them every single night when I'm out there. And they have interfered with my observations and perhaps some of your photography, even though they're not as bright as they were initially on launch. They're typically about second magnitude, and then they are reoriented as well as elevated to a higher altitude, and they become fainter. So every 18 years, we have what are called the longest total solar eclipses, and the maximum possible duration of a total eclipse is over 7 minutes. And the longest one in this century occurred in 2009, 6 minutes, 38 seconds, with the shortest one in this century scheduled to occur in 2068. It's a little over 1 minute. So let's see, here's an eclipse that no one ever sees here on Earth because it's photographed by the Solar Dynamics Explorer, which is outside the Earth's atmosphere, far away from Earth. And this is a partial eclipse seen and recorded on July the 25th. So the number of total solar eclipses visible in this country since its founding 250 years ago is only 12. And these are the years when they occurred. So these things are pretty rare, even in this country. So if you look ahead to from 2001 to 2050, these are the total eclipses that cross the United States. And if you look up here on the top, you'll see that Alaska will see the next total eclipse, a very short one, and only covers a part of Alaska on March 30th, 2033. And then we have another one coming up in 2045. So those are 2044 that cover mostly Canada and a little bit of Montana, and then a much more general eclipse that covers a lot of the United States in 2045. So there's a number of things that have happened here in Arizona that I wanted to chronicle. And here's the first event. This happens to be our annular solar eclipse group in Easter Island. During that time, we got a chance to see one of the comet atlases. There are so many nowadays that you have to kind of discriminate as to which is which. These are the moai that the statues that are on Easter Island, and we could see that easily. I actually took a photo of it, the comet that is, from an airplane window as we were flying in that night. You can also get some spectacular views of the Milky Way with the moai in the background if you're in a dark sky condition, and that's always the case during a total eclipse of the moon. So this was the annular eclipse as we saw it at maximum, pretty dramatic. You can see sunspot on the right side and the moon. Even its irregularities, you can see a little bit of that in this image. Comet Tsuchen-Chan October the 12th of last year was visible here. You can see the saguaro with that in the background. I was able to get this picture on one of the websites after that. And then in October of last year, we had our exhibition of Aurora Storm number 2. The first one I mentioned was in May. You can see the northern lights quite clearly. This was from my house, just looking to the north. It's actually quite prominent and just really unusual. I discovered a new double star using my occultation hardware on October 23rd by accident. You can see this horizontal line that's going up and down, which is basically background noise. And then you see these two dips that go part way down. They don't go all the way to where the star disappeared. This symbolizes basically a double star event, and that's exactly what happened. Then in December of last year, we had a naked eye pass of the Starlink G6-66. There are 4 of them shown here flying over Black Mountain, which is to the east of me. This is a short time exposure. On December 19th, I got a photo of the NASA's Advanced Composite Solar Sail, which was tumbling at the time. Solar sails were basically supposed to be stationary and stable, and this one obviously wasn't, but it was a test, and at least we were able to see it. And then in February of this year, I was able to provide a Zoom presentation for the Eclipse Ambassador course that was being directed out of Madrid, Spain, in preparation to ready the astronomical community for the upcoming eclipse this coming year, August 2026, not the one in 2027. So up to this point, as was described earlier, I've done 30 consecutive Northern Lights expeditions to Alaska since 2012, and every one of them, we have seen the Northern Lights at least one night out of the 4 that we've gone up there. So we're switching this year to Iceland as a change of pace. We're going in October, actually this month, in about less than 2 weeks. We're going to do a circumvent of the entire island, and hopefully we'll be able to see the Northern Lights at least once or twice, if not more than that. The travel agency that runs these tours price them at $54.95. It's pretty expensive. They only take 16 people, but they're really good tours in the sense that you get to see a lot of archaeological and geological features, as well as the Northern Lights. So the second to last expedition to Alaska, we had some really spectacular appearances of the lights. Typically they're green in color, but they can be a variety of colors depending upon the level of excitation and the molecules that are being excited. This was our last expedition in March of this year, number 30, and we could even photograph them quite clearly with the full moon in the background. So that's one thing that originally I never thought was possible, but sure enough it is. Then there was a total lunar eclipse on March 14th of this year, and we didn't quite have totality where I was because the clouds came in right after that. So now we switch over to the partial solar eclipse that occurred this year. Sorry, let me jump back to this slide. March the 29th, there was a partial solar eclipse that occurred, and it covered a fairly large area. If you see this zone in blue and green, the United States basically is not in the visibility path except for the northeastern part. Most of Europe can see the partial eclipse, and Greenland. So Sky and Telescope organized a route, and they just decided to create a very expensive trip, fly up there and give people a good view. My site, based on weather evaluation, was down here at the very edge of the path for the most part. Outside this green line to the southeast, there is no eclipse, but from the green line northwestward, you can see a partial eclipse. So what happened on eclipse day? Greenland was entirely clouded out. However, my site down here was perfectly clear. So I'm happy to say that we got some really good views. However, on the morning of the eclipse, the first thing I saw when I went out of my room was a black hat, which is usually a sign of really bad luck. But as it turned out, that was not the case. So my wife and I decided to observe in a very comfortable position. She was in the pool, and I was on our balcony hotel room using our Nikons, and we got some really great shots. This is shows the clarity. It wasn't a fantastic partial eclipse in terms of the amount of the sun covered. It was only 19%, but it was still great, and I'm super happy about it. So in August of this year, we took a trip on the Azamara Onward, which happens to be one of two ships that we're chartering for the longest total eclipse in 2027. And I want to let people know about it because we have nobody signed up, as far as I know, from JSC AS, but we have two ships, and this one has, I think, half filled right now, and has about 100 cabins, I believe, that are going to be sold beginning now, actually. So we flew from Dulles over to Madrid. I have back problems, so I can't sit and coach without my back really bothering me. So we sat up in business class, and that was pretty expensive, but at least it was something that I could survive. Now, one of the reasons that we took this trip was to check out our observation sites for the 2026 total eclipse, which are in Spain. So this particular trip originated in Madrid and returned from Madrid as well. So the first place we went to was a cemetery. And you may recognize this if you're a fan of Clint Eastwood movies. This is where The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly movie was filmed back in I believe it was the 1960s. This entire set was built by the Spanish Army and was used specifically for this movie. And it's not tremendously far from where we're going to be observing the eclipse in August of 2026. But it turns out that the sun is so low that it's behind the mountains that you see in the background. So we can't observe the eclipse from there. On our test cruise, we were escorted into the port of Barcelona by one of the Spanish Navy ships. We don't know whether they fight well, but we do know they play good music. So on that ship, I was able to meet with the captain and the person who organizes all the activities, and we were able to square away a lot of the details of the plan for them supporting us for the eclipse. The entire ship, and this is the upper deck as well as the main deck, are going to be devoted to our group. There's nobody else on the ship except the Ring of Fire Expeditions JSCAS group. And this particular ship is going to have roughly 700 people on board once it's entirely filled. Now, the part of the problem is, of course, the low elevation of the sun during the eclipse. And this gives you an idea how low it is. It's only 8 degrees during totality. And so it's not a trivial thing to see, especially if you have things like fires that break out regularly in the summertime. And this year was particularly bad in August for fires in Spain. I also checked out Palma de Mallorca, which you'll see in a moment. It's another site that it turns out that at this location, the total eclipse is visible on the horizon during totality. So not exactly the best place to be, but still an interesting location. So I found a number of sites. You can see that Spain and the area in the northern part of Spain where the eclipse passes is quite flat. There's lots of fields that are cut in August and harvested. And basically the eclipse is total 8 degrees above the horizon, and then the eclipse is over at when the eclipse is on the horizon. So it's rather challenging. This is a clear day, and you could easily see no obscurations. So this is an example of the predicted daytime cloud cover along the entire path. The path runs from Spain northwestward over Iceland and into Greenland. And as a result, there are a lot of clouds predicted and a lot of clouds observed, especially over the ocean, Iceland, and even in Greenland. So other things going on after we came back from that. This is a photo of a group of 7 satellites in the Chinese Hulian Wang satellite group that was launched back in the earlier part of the year. It's part of a low orbit communication satellite constellation, very similar to what Elon Musk is building. It may be hard to see on here, but there's actually 8 separate tracks of satellites that appear in this one photograph. Now, my site for observing various things is in Arizona, which is on the left side, just below the Nevada test and training range, black dot here. Typically, Vandenberg, which is 600 miles to the west of me, is where we see Starlink rocket launches launched from. And if we're lucky, we see them fly directly over us or to the southwest. This is an example of a photo that I took from Morristown, Arizona on May 2nd. And this particular launch was from the Starlink 675 group, and it occurred from KSC, not Vandenberg. 92 minutes after launch, it passed over us, and here you can see in the lower left corner the individual satellites because they've been deployed fairly soon after launch. And so we could photograph these fairly easily, especially when they went through cloud. So here was another rocket launch that took place from Vandenberg. Oh, sorry, this is also from KSC on May the 7th. The first one was a number of days earlier. And in this case, it was fairly close to sunset. But what we saw was a white cloud that was in the sky as the rocket burn, the final rocket burn was taking place. And it was really pretty amazing to see, whether stars are visible because of the lighting conditions. So every once in a while, we get some really unique circumstances. And here's the third event on June 17th of this year. This is when it really gets spectacular, when the stars are out, when the sun is just well below the horizon, and we can see this beautiful contrail coming up from Vandenberg, from the horizon. And as the rocket moves off toward the toward the southeastern part of the sky, it appears in our southwest, and we can see this big jellyfish-like structure that happens under normal conditions. This is a photo of Nova Lupi, a nova that appeared in our sky, magnitude 5.8. I took this from my driveway. It was very easy to see, and it had not reached maximum brightness at this point in time, but it was still a pretty dramatic event, and I wanted to show you this photo. A potentially hazardous asteroid called 1998 QS52 passed a pretty good ways from Earth. It's only 4 kilometers in diameter, but we had 4 sites that were able to observe the eclipse of a faint star by this asteroid as it passed in front of it. This is an attempt to try to refine the orbit of this asteroid before it potentially comes close to the Earth. That's one of the things that I've had fun doing since retirement. Another night near the town of Ajo, Arizona, I happened to be out observing, and I looked on the horizon. We can actually see the horizon from here. It actually looks clear. And I could see 5 degrees above the horizon, there was a group of 13 Starlink payloads, and that's all of them right there, starting to rise up from the horizon. It was a pretty amazing thing to see. These were launched 3 days before, and this is the photo that I took with my Android Samsung S24, just handheld. There are satellites in orbit that are still being used as possible anti-satellite weaponry tests. In this case, there are 2 Russian satellites called Cosmos 2581 and 2582 that have been actively conducting rendezvous and proxops activities. This is a photo that I took back in July of this year. This streak shows the 2 objects, but they're one object because there's no way I can resolve them. They're so close together, and they're shadowing corresponding United States spy satellites in similar orbits. So this was back in July. And then on August 25th, we had the mother of all dust storms that went over our location. We've never had a dust storm in the 10 years that I've been here. This shows the dust storm coming up the freeway, 70 miles in width 6,500 to 7,000 feet high. And it was absolutely incredible. And it made it all the way up to where I live, which is more than 30 miles north of Phoenix. It's kind of an amazing event. So some of you may already know that back in March of 1977, I observed a possible indication of a satellite of an asteroid and reported it. This was quite a long time ago, and we documented it in several different publications. It was pretty much treated as with ridicule by professional astronomers, because whenever amateurs report, you really need to have evidence. And this was simply a possible explanation of an occultation that I observed near Victoria, Texas, when the actual occultation of this star, a 3.6 magnitude star called Gamma Ceti, was observed from Mexico. Now, it turns out that in 1993, the first proven satellite of an asteroid was discovered by the Galileo spacecraft, and there you see it. The asteroid Ida is that large object in the middle. The object to the right is Ida, is the satellite called Dactyl, and then it's magnified in the lower left portion of the screen. So this set off all professionals looking for asteroid satellites. Became a big thing now. So after that, in 2013, I decided that amateur satellite observers might benefit if there was an award created to provide a $4,000 prize for the discovery of a proven asteroid satellite by the first amateur astronomer. And this was back in 2013. Now, this year, last month, this prize was awarded to two amateurs from Australia, based upon their light curves of an occultation of a star by the asteroid 4337 Arecibo, named after the Arecibo telescope, which many of you may know was destroyed some time ago. This top graphic shows two dips in the light curve. And the second curve on the bottom is from a site located not too far away from the first site. It shows two similar dips. And so a reduction was made to try to determine what would these satellites look like, or this particular satellite look like, in relation to the primary asteroid. So the asteroid Arecibo is the large object on the right. The observation of each of these two individuals on the left are shown here based on their geographic perspective. Now, it turns out a month later, there was the same asteroid occulted another star, and two people in California observed an occultation, in this case, a double occultation, almost identical to the one observed in Australia. And so based on this, we collectively decided to award Dave Galt and Peter Nosworthy in Australia, giving them the what's called the Matimo Award, the W.J. Merlin Award for discovery of an asteroid moon by occultation, on September the 6th. So I'm very pleased that we were able to do this and recognize amateurs for it. Jumping ahead, as was just talked about, we just came back from our 87th solar eclipse expedition. This time it was to South Island, New Zealand on September 22nd. This was a really risky observation. We weren't sure whether we'd actually be able to see it because New Zealand is called the land of the long white cloud for a real reason. It's notoriously cloudy all the time with intervening times of clarity, and it's just really impossible to make predictions very far in advance. Even a day or two in advance can be quite challenging. So this is the location. This yellow area shows where we were in Dunedin. We were on a peninsula that was actually known as a sanctuary. It was called the Royal Albatross Center, and it protects albatrosses that were located on the west side of the island. We were on the east side of the island near this seabird lookout point. On the way there, of course, we have signs of penguins, so we had to be wary of that. And again, based on the fact that it's a 12-hour flight just to get to New Zealand, and 14 hours back, I had to try to take advantage of the lounge there in the airport just to recover from this from the experience. It's not a lot of fun doing flying for that length of time. So at the site, we had a lot of seabirds, in particular seagulls, that were just flying all over the place, causing all kinds of creation and trouble. We also had sheep that didn't bother us much, but the eclipse occurred at sunrise. And just before sunrise, you have all these little birds. You may not be able to see them, but on the sidewalk leading down to the viewing area, there's nothing but bird poop everywhere. And I had my camera set up here in the foreground, and the birds seemed to be, not doing much. But at sunrise, as the sun began to rise, they just flew all over the place, dive bombing us, really creating a big issue. And I had to actually try to photograph through or around the birds because of the location of where the sun was relative to these rocks that were here. One of the fun things to see during eclipses is during the partial phases, you can see sun crescents that are generated by certain types of trees. And I've been doing this for years. And in this particular case, you can see the numerous sun crescents that were projected by a nearby tree onto a sign. So this is the eclipse. You can see it was embedded in clouds as the sun began to rise, and finally, when it cleared, it was quite good, and we had a lot of time to watch it. And then, in typical New Zealand fashion, 2 hours after the eclipse, it was socked in. And this is us being at the airport. We weren't too far away from our site, but it was pretty bad. And we were glad that we were able to luck out. And so this gives you an idea of the distance involved. It's quite a long time. In fact, even though this says 9 hours, 19 minutes, we were almost 3 hours into the flight. So if any of you are interested in going on a solar eclipse or seeing northern lights, I've got a lot of things that you guys can choose from. At your leisure, you can go to www.eclipsetours.com, and that's the site where we post everything. This is a poster that has been shown in several places, indicating the fact that there will be a spectacular event coming on August the 2nd, 2027. Now, one thing you cannot do, you can't just sit around and wait for an eclipse. It's just not going to happen. I think some people believe that it's too much trouble even to drive into an eclipse in Texas if they live in Texas. And I was shocked to hear that, but that was the case. So the last total solar eclipse to go over Houston was in the year 1259. So again, waiting around is not the right thing to do. This is an example of the paths of both annular and total solar eclipses between 2021 and 2040. And as you can see, you have to go typically outside the boundaries of the USA in order to see one of these things. So when I first came to JSC in 1969, I had to wait 3 years, actually 1 year to see an eclipse. We drove to Valdosta, Georgia, and got rained out there. And then 3 years later, we went to Cap Chat, Quebec in Canada to observe our second total eclipse. And that was not exactly a great success, but at least we were able to get into the path totality and did see some of the eclipse. So our next eclipse will be February 17th, 2026. Now, this is not a total eclipse, it's a partial eclipse. And because of the likelihood of cyclones and clouds in the general area, I'm not planning to go to Madagascar, which is what you see on the right side. And it turns out that South Africa looks pretty clear in this particular image taken on eclipse day in 2025. But the best likelihood for success is actually northeast of Cape Town, where the amount of coverage is only 5%. But that's where we're planning to go, and hopefully we'll get lucky and see this. So next year is our next total solar eclipse. This is the end of the path over Spain and Mallorca, which is part of the Balearic Islands, which you can see here in the ocean just to the right of Spain. So we want to be as close to that red line as possible, and we will be in the town of Burgos which is just in the upper center part of this map. And you can see by the cloud cover prediction based on 20 years of past cloud cover measurements, that wherever there's blue is typically going to be less cloud. And the more you change colors going to yellow and white and orange, the cloudier it's going to be. At least that's the prediction. So we try to avoid areas where there are clouds, but sometimes it's just impossible. So this will be the path of the total eclipse in August of 2027. This will be the last great eclipse of all time for those of us living today. And I wanted to give you an idea that you can see that it passes over Spain, Gibraltar, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, especially Egypt, where it reaches its maximum of 6 minutes and I believe 23 seconds. And then it passes over Saudi Arabia and Yemen, as well as Somalia. Not exactly the best places to go. I've been to all of them. I don't recommend it. Now, one of the other things that I'm starting to see is misinformation. So here is an example of publicity online which says the world will go dark for 6 minutes in August. Well, the world won't go dark because the path of the eclipse doesn't cover the entire world. And yet here's a piece of information that needs to be clarified. I've never heard of this publication, Daily Galaxy, but clearly anybody and everybody can upload stuff to the internet. So here's the weather prediction, and you can see the path overlaid on top of this, and you can see that there's a lot of blue areas, which indicates that it's very likely that anyone going in to see the eclipse is probably going to see it unless you go to the Indian Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean. So this is extremely encouraging. So what was the weather like on August 2nd of this year? And of this past year. And this is a satellite image showing a few clouds in eastern Algeria and nothing in the Mediterranean, and fundamentally very little cloud in Egypt. So here's the path with the length of time that shows 6 minutes, 23 seconds in Luxor, which is where all the major archaeological wonders are. We have two groups of people that we're going to be sending there. That'll be led by Pat Reif of Wright University and Carolyn Summers of the Houston Museum of Natural Science. And then we have our two ships that'll be located in the Mediterranean Sea just west of Libya. We expect to have 6 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, what is so special about the eclipse? Well, first of all, we already said it's the longest one in your lifetime and mine as well. The sun is 82 degrees above the horizon, at least from our ship's perspective. So it's really high up, and you're looking for very little atmosphere. So the chances of getting very clear and sharp photos is quite high. And weather records will nearly guarantee a clear sky. And we never say guarantee because there can't be a guarantee issued for anything that's subject to weather. But if there was going to be a guarantee, we'd probably call this one close to that. And then again, to wait around for the next total longest eclipse will be in the year 2114. And I don't think I'll be around for that, but maybe some of you will. So there's an advantage of going to a cruise instead of Egypt. And the older I get, I don't really want to be in environments where the temperatures are over 100 degrees, although here in Arizona, we have over 100 degrees pretty frequently here. The highs last year, I think, were 119 degrees here, but air conditioning kind of fixes that. So there'll be less of a risk of terrorism. The temperatures at sea will be on the order of 80 degrees instead of 100 or over. There'll be massive crowds expected in the Luxor area for the eclipse and on the Nile River. There are, by the way, 150 ships that are typically in the Nile that ferry customers up and down the Nile as part of their tourism. There could be difficulty with certain hotels being overbooked, and that's always a hassle if you don't have a good trip vendor to work with. And then especially the Egypt hotel prices are going to be jacked up for sure due to this once in a lifetime event. So this is the ship that we have sold out. It requires about 300 passengers, really nice ship, and it will be located at the same location where our main ship is going to be. This is it. It's the Azamir Onward that I showed you earlier. I'll be on this ship, and then after the eclipse, I'll actually transfer to the other ship. Our ship, which again still has a lot of space available, starts out in Barcelona, goes to the Balearic Islands, goes then to Sardinia, down here it stops in Tunisia, and then it proceeds southeast to a point in the ocean where both ships will rendezvous to see the eclipse together. Our ship will then go northwest to Malta, then up to Catania in Sicily, and then up to Italy itself, and then end in Rome. So it's going to be quite an interesting cruise, and I'm looking forward to that. Now, since the ship starts out in Barcelona, I had to look it over when we were there in August, and there's some weird things that you see in Barcelona, like a toilet sitting out in the middle of the street. I was not going to use it, but I thought it was worthwhile taking a photo. And then we saw these weird guys looking like, well, I'm not sure what exactly, walking around. This is a photo that I took from our ship. This is the route of the ship. It's, again, 11 days, beginning July 27th and ending on the 6th of August. And this is the zone in which we will be sailing in order to figure out where the best opportunity is based on what the captain's recommendation is. The cruise prices are all listed here. They start at, I think, $4,500 if you can see the faint print, and go all the way up to $14,000 for some of the more expensive suites. I'll be giving talks on the ship, as will Jerry Ross, a former shuttle astronaut at JSC. The main speaker will be Dr. Mike Shera of the American Museum of Natural History, who's given talks on our cruise ships before. Is a really, really great speaker. One of the things that I've added into this is we're going to do a sail by the Stromboli volcano, which has been erupting in the Aeolian Islands, located just north of Sicily, for the past 2,000 years. And so if we're lucky during this sail by, I think it's going to be a 2-hour sail by, you'll be able to see it erupting. The other thing is that when we stop in Sicily, we'll be able to take a trip up to the Mount Etna volcano, which is Europe's tallest volcano. It's the one that basically erupts most frequently, not excluding Stromboli, of course, and it produces some really spectacular eruptions. I was there in August of 2009 and was able to get up close to one of the lava flows. The photo on the right I took at night when I was sitting up there, and this is a photo in the daytime. Really worth seeing, especially when it's in eruption. Now on the ship, they've given me an area to put my laptop, and I'll be observing the weather status and directing both of the ships as to where to go to get the best skies. You'll see here, this is an image of the Mediterranean that I took in August when I was there, and you can see there were some clouds, but this was really an unusual situation and not typical of what you see during August. So again, here is the large, expansive deck area that will be able to accommodate everybody on the ship. The eclipse is overhead, so they're going to pull most of these chairs out to use the maximum amount of space. One thing that I'll mention to everybody, any of you who want to go to see the Vatican Observatory in Vatican City, there's going to be an optional tour for JSCAS members only. If people do not sign up from here, then that will be turned over to the general public in terms of the people who've signed up for that ship. They'll be able to go. I think there's only like either 20 or 40 spaces, but JSCAS members will be given first dibs. And I think come January is when if we don't have people signed up in JSCAS, it will be open to anybody. The Vatican Observatory has a couple of large telescopes, a Zeiss visual refractor on the left, and a doublet astrograph on the right. And we're hoping to see that in addition to the Vatican Museum. Upcoming things that we haven't talked about, in 2029, there'll be a cruise that we'll be having into the Canary Islands to observe the naked eye close approach of an asteroid to the Earth. That asteroid is called Apophis, and the nearest approach will take place just off the coast of Africa, west of Mauritania, visible from the Canary Islands as well as the ocean between there and West Africa. And then, assuming that another asteroid called 2024 YR4 crashes into the moon in 2032, we will hopefully have a cruise to see that event. Right now, the possibility of a collision is roughly 14%, and it better get a bit higher than that in order for us to plan for this. So my cat is telling me that he wants to go to McDonald's for nuggets, and so I am going to ask for questions. I'll stick around as long as Doug and the folks let me answer any that you might have. And if you have others that occur after the meeting, feel free to email me. I'll be happy to answer your email, pdmaley@yahoo.com. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for Paul? Oh, hold on, Leslie. Okay, can I? Okay, Paul, there's a question. Do you have plans to go to Australia, and when is it, Stan? 2028.
Yes. If you go to our website, you will see a cruise on the northwest coast of Australia. We have, I think, 9 engines that have been sold, and we are developing a land into the hasn't been yet.
So the answer is yes. Okay, Leslie, do you have something? Okay, Leslie's going to send you a question via email.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have a question for Paul? No, I think they're all going to email their questions, Paul. Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Rick, did you bring some Sky and Telescope magazine?
They're up there, and we got at the event last week. I ran into someone who had a pile of them that's almost 8 months to a year's worth, and so I asked him if he could give me whatever was left, and as it turned out, almost nobody took any. So I've got another stack, so I think we're good for another year.
Another year. Okay, you found your way. All right, thank you, Rick, for doing that. So you're giving away 5 a meeting. Is that your plan?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
And thank goodness the guy in Humboldt up at the event. I just kind of grabbed him as soon as I saw him. And
Okay.
he said, sure. And he actually brought it over to my table before he left.
Great. Okay.
So
Well,
we're good for a while.
thank you for doing that. Okay, so the meeting after the meeting, when we get done here, we'll get together at Mod Pizza. It's the one from HEB at El Dorado and Clear Lake City Boulevard. Everyone's welcome to come to that, eat pizza, talk about astronomy thing. That'd be great. Okay, so we are going to take a short break. Okay, first, our break slide is by Alan. I think Alan's here. Where's Alan? I just saw him. There he is. Alan, you want to tell us anything about your picture?
Spent a lot of time, so I can learn, but using my Sony A7R3 and I use Nina tracker and guider, all that stuff.
Great. Yeah, I've been waiting to see some astrophotography with the Sony A7 camera. I'm interested in that camera, so I wondered about it. Really? Did you modify it yourself or does it come that way? Oh, interesting. Well, that's good. That's important. Yeah. Yeah. That's IC 1396, right? Yeah. Okay. All righty. Okay. I guess we will take a 10-minute break and we'll start up in 10 minutes. See you then. I can't see my watch. I don't know what time it is.
It's 8:27.
8:27.
Yeah.
The variability of so I just say the hardest problem. So it's really hard to eat. I got rid of it. And that's got in the. You know, can't do that long. If you guys can put the only one I need, we're gonna find the lines. Well, I've been asking for the next 3 places to come in. Get a funny alarm. Why can't I? You want to do it from there, you carry in my summer meeting. It's always one of their. I said, it's right, that's all. I'm still learning. Okay. So what do you want to do here? That's the third. Thank you. I'm not going to be one slide. I don't know how to use it. Well, no, I'm presentation. I just got the knowledge that stopping I can do it. It's just prayer. Or that. It's really. That works great. Right. I said I should do it right. This is what we want to have. Or you can give our training. Oh, Tim, I don't think that is fine. We got it. You got it. I've got a really in here. Yeah, we want to. Oh, I'm going to listen. Yeah. You remember? I just. You can just. Sorry. Everything. I don't know. And we got to sleep. It was funny. I told him, I give him more money, I get some better than I. Already. Yeah, but then he was in the. I was looking at yeah. We know a lot of these guys do.
I understand. Example of this is just, you know, it's like you're more clear. And then if one. Then outside for 2 hours. You forget I'm staying. You're sitting. Single, no, I'm staying until the rest of the day on the ground. It was like, skip. And I think it's missionary is like, it's hard. And the way it's up, that's a little bit more against like. No, I can't have it. As long as you're back. But. And never. No, so why do you do that? How be? Like, no, it's too long. Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. You're good about that. So the ESP and that's on the government. Stated like 5 years. I'm sure. Yeah, there's. Yeah. I have one too. Hey, you guys. Hey, you guys. What's up with the
Okay, 10 minutes is up and we are going to get started. The break is over and we're going to get started. Yeah, I know. I don't know where you're going, Chris. The break is over and we're going to get started. That means shut the hell up so we can get going here. I know, it's ridiculous. Come on, guys. Thank you. All righty. Okay, I have a member's minute. Set your watches. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know that the JSCAS, is listed as one of the participants, door prize donors for the Eldorado Star Party this year, and we're listed here with other notable people like Sky and Telescope Magazine, American Astronomical Society, the Austin Astronomical Society, and others. Just want to let you know this helps us be a player in the astronomy community here in Texas, and that's why we do this. So we're one of the participants in this, and we're getting that recognition for our contributions. All righty. Next, we have a DIY astronomy with Chris. Results of the Saturn eclipse season. Chris Randall.
Yes, right. Okay, we could do this. Okay, well, Saturn has eclipses just like the Earth does. So we just completed our 2025 season, and they're very rare. These happen about every 14 years. So it's kind of rare to see. So you see in this picture here, this is one of my first attempts at it in September 19th and 20th. These things go all night. So here's a picture I took through my Dobsonian telescope with my cell phone. And you see the faint spot is Titan, and the dark spot is its shadow. Now, what you don't understand is when I pulled up visually, Titan was beautiful. You could actually see detail on it, which blew my mind. And that's roughly 700 power. So while we get this, is because Saturn's tilt is at 27 degrees. And twice a year, its orbit is 29 and a half years. So twice during that thing, we're on the same plane with its orbit, with its rings. So we can see the rings edge on, or close to edge on. And then you can see this when the eclipses happen. So this year, Saturn did this 10 times between April and October. And the shadow transits happen. It takes about 16 days for Titan to orbit. So that's how often the shadows come in. And orbital period is just basically 2 hours shy of 16 days. How to find the events and popular publications like Astronomy and other magazines. The Astronomy League is really good. If you're on their Facebook page, they put out flyers all the time on different things. And the observing guides. The one I used for this one was British Astronomical Association Observer Guide. I'm sure there's others out there that have it, but couldn't find access on the web for them. And then there's websites. This is a really neat website. It's really amazing. It's French, but it's in English. We'll go into more detail in a minute. So here's a flyer that the Astronomy League put out. Shows all the details, and they actually made the dates wrong when they converted to local time on one of them. So this is a correction. And then that, they also offered up an observing challenge. So you can observe these things. You can submit your logs and stuff and do an outreach. And then you get a certificate from them. You didn't have to be a member for this one. And then here's a copy of the thing. I'm not going to show much detail, but each one of these charts here shows the shadow times and things on here. This is from the observing guide, and then also eclipses where it goes in shadow, Saturn's shadow. So that's kind of neat stuff to do. And here's the website that I got the stuff from. You can see the table. One thing about the thing is if you click on this little thing here, it gives you all the details because it lists the things by letters and numbers. So this little dot here will get up there, and you also sort to only see Titan or all the other. It also has all the other moons and their shadows at the same time, but they're very hard to see. I couldn't see any of them. I thought I saw one of them, but I can't say I did. It's one of those, it might be there, but I couldn't. I thought I saw it, but I didn't confirm it. And it was just a brief second of seeing. So also, but one thing to know here, this column here, it says duration. And it was very confusing, but I finally figured out it's how long it takes it to go from start going over the edge to finishing going over the edge, not the duration going across Saturn. It's its ingress and egress time. So it says 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes from the first touch till it's all on. Or if it's 3 minutes on the exit side, it's how much time it starts to exit till it's totally off. That's what the duration means. It's not how long it goes across the planet, which really messes with me. Okay, so what it is, I took the thing and downloaded, and I made a column in Excel and did local time, labeled the planets, body A, body B, which if you just go, there's a whole help file on their website that tells you. So I got all my things, you know, some marked all the ones in yellow. Some are shadows and some are transits, or eclipses rather. So here is an animation. If I can make it,
Just click on it.
just click on. Go.
Wait, that worked before.
Okay, well, it's not working now.
Chris, click in the middle of it.
Yeah, and is that middle?
Hit return is what happens to this one.
Nope.
Back up one. We tested that and it worked. Maybe it'd be out of the presentation. What did we do different?
I don't know. It's not much. Well, PowerPoint pulled up a little happiness.
Yeah, we tested
Okay.
this before the meeting at work.
Oh well, I can show the pointer here. Titan goes across, and then the shadow followed it. So let's go to the next one. And here is a cell phone picture from my 18-inch and thing here of the shadows. And it's not animated. It would go across here, and then the shadow would follow it here. Sorry, it didn't come through. Here's that picture we showed earlier. Then you notice here is Titan, and there's the shadow. And then this is one for this last weekend. Titan would go across here, but the shadow just barely crosses the top. And it's not working, so okay. Well, here's the side I was going to do because I didn't know I was going to get it done. But then I did this. This is my final pass. And you see the shadow right here, and you see Titan. This is a picture I made with my telescope last weekend. And this was a video here, but it's not going to go. Same thing. It's go across. That's fine. And then I saw the eclipses that they did. Here's a picture I did with a Dobsonian. And you really can't, I didn't have video for it because it wasn't that great a quality. But here you can see it, the Titan coming in, and then it's getting really faint, and then it disappears into the shadow before it goes behind the planet. The video turned out very poor. I mean, because it was literally handheld cell phone in front of the telescope. So when's it going to happen again, you say? 2038, July, into July through into June and 39. And around the end of, around the December to January timeframe, It's going to go right down the rings. So that's going to be, if we're still around long enough, that'll be really cool to see. But one thing I will bring up to you, you got to have the tracking mount, number one. Dobsonians, they don't track or very hard to keep it because you got to run it at 400 plus power to see this. Because I've tried the first couple passes, I'd had 300 power and it wasn't giving me enough detail to see. I get glimpses every now and then. You got to have good seeing, so cloud cover stuff. But so I was running about 760 power on my Dob, and it was obvious that it was there, and it was clear, and you could actually see looked like a sideways Y on Titan of the dark lanes, and that was kind of when I thought I didn't know, I realized see it until I zoomed in on my planetarium program to see that it actually had that was actually there. It was real. It wasn't just me thinking I saw something. So, but yeah, next time I plan to have a better setup and do better on my things because anybody takes pictures of planets through a telescope, they are wizards because it's really hard to do. Even just, when I did that one this last weekend, 500 gigabytes of video data to get 40 frames that actually were usable. So that should tell you something. That's that difficult. But that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Now that website and everything, I assume they had the same information with Jupiter too.
Yes, all the planets.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
And some other stuff in there. They have a bunch of stuff over there that you can look up all kinds of stuff. And like I said, website, you go in, you tell you want to see Saturn, Jupiter, or Uranus, and then it comes up, and then like that little gear window I said, it pulls up and you say, I don't want to see anything but Titan, or I want to see this, or I want to see eclipses or shadows.
Oh, okay.
So you can
Got it.
make your list much smaller.
All right. Any other questions for Chris? All right. Thank you.
No.
Sorry about the videos.
It's okay.
We thought we had them working. Chris, Trevor, we got any idea why that didn't work? Okay.
Probably because when we tested it earlier, we had the presenters view.
No, we tested it this way too.
Did you?
We did.
We went over it.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay, Alan, what's up in the sky?
I have a short one tonight. Let's see. We're still on the same Draconid, and then Orionid are the meteor showers in October. I guess the 9th through the 6th have already happened, but the 21st through the 22nd is still coming up during the star party. So that's perfect. I don't know, someday I'd like to count how many meteors we see in an average star party because there's quite a bit, even without a meteor shower. Okay, so binocular objects. Not really. The planet Pluto. So I have this big 25-inch Dob. I know Chris has a big Dob too. And I've seen Uranus and Neptune, and they look like discs. It's really cool. It's neat to look at Saturn, look at the shadows on the rings and all sorts of cool things. And by the way, we want to not forget around the 2029 or 2030 is when the spokes might appear on the back of the Saturn's rings. Isn't that when it is? Or something like that. We had a talk, and then I've seen talks at star parties about it. So anyway, I had to actually go back and figure out what night I actually saw Pluto. And the way we were able to see it is, if you look at the left image, you see the star far to the left, and then you see the star. Okay, you see Pluto is outlined in red. Let me see if I can do this. So here's Pluto, here's a star on the left, here's a star here, and here's a star here. So it made it really easy because it was in a line. So if you look at the next day, it's a lot less in a line, and the one star is missing over here. And you see even the next day later, it's even less of a line. So if you start with the image on the right, you're probably not going to be able to figure out very easily where Pluto is. You have to take a view of the star field and then be able to pick out Pluto out of the rest of the stars. And I looked it up. And so it's just very lucky that on the 21st on the left happened to be the night I decided I should look at Pluto, and just happened to be in a nice line. Stan took a picture of it and he verified that we were actually looking at it. I did a little background information on it, and Pluto is between 13 magnitude and 16 magnitude, depending on the relationship to the Earth. And I think around here is around 14th magnitude. So it's not for every telescope. Probably a little harder in a smaller telescope to see it very brightly. But we kind of saw it like this. This is, by the way, Stellarium, and I had to pull it up in eyepiece view because Newtonians flip things around to kind of make it easier. But even then, this picture was more vertical, so it was actually turned on its side, and that's why it's difficult to just look at a star field and go, oh, that's Pluto, and then go look in the eyepiece, because once things get turned around, it's very confusing. Here's some other information about Pluto. Oh, it looks like some stuff over it went on top of each other. But so on the left is a picture of a view from a telescope of the new planets or satellites of Pluto. And there's some factoids here. So Charon was the biggest one, and it was only discovered in 2025. And then Erebus, I think that's the name of it, Caribius, was discovered in 2011. So a lot of these were discovered really recent. And this image on the right I like, because this is the first picture using Hubble in 1994 that they were able to actually see Charon separated from Pluto. And in most telescopes, they look kind of like they're merged together a little bit. There's like a little bump to the side. So, you know, it's pretty recent stuff. So the first telescope object, sorry, I didn't do any binocular objects. The first telescope object is Sculptor Galaxy. Many, many people have seen this. It's a wonderful galaxy to look at this time of the year. It's low on the horizon in Sculptor. Fort McCavitt, very easy to see because we have a really nice southern horizon. And what's neat about it is there's a supermassive black hole, just like our own. And this picture on the right zooms in on the central core there a little bit. I think our central core is kind of hard to see, the supermassive black hole. I wonder if they've done any sub-millimeter stuff on that, if they can see through the dust clouds. Anyway, here's another popular object. Everybody sees this. It's called Bond's Galaxy. And so on the left is kind of a typical view. It's kind of neat. It's sort of a tilted galaxy. And then on the right is a neat narrowband image. I guess it's popular with amateurs because it has a lot of neat colors. It has a lot of young galaxies in it, or young cloud areas where young stars are being formed. So that shows up nice in narrowband views. Giant Squid Galaxy. This one's neat because it has this other little galaxy nearby if you do some photography, and the right is a really nice picture of it. But my favorite object is, I believe, the next one. This is not talked about very much. I looked at this back 2020, something like that, 2021, around COVID. It was my favorite object. The picture on the left is very typical what you see, but I saw it a lot more clearly, and you can see a few of these little knots in here. And when you look at that in the telescope, even with the 12-inch, I was using my 12-inch at the time. I didn't have the 25 yet. And it looks clumpy. So that's why it looks like a string of pearls. And this dust lane that you see in the right picture actually is a lot more prominent. And dust lanes are really neat because they make a galaxy look kind of more 3D. So you see like the brighter parts look closer to you and the darker parts look further back. So it makes it look a little bit more interesting. It's like the sombrero has a big dust lane, and it looks a little bit more three-dimensional when you're looking and observing. So I've got two more objects that are smaller, that are harder to see, faint galaxies. This is one that I was looking at Okie-Tex. We had horrible weather at Okie-Tex. We had a few good nights. But on the very last night, it was a perfect night. But that's the night you have to break down. So I was taking my telescope apart about 2 o'clock at night, just kind of getting it taken apart so it could be easily packed up first thing in the morning. But you can see on the right, there's a lot of named galaxies in this area, but a lot of these are like magnitude 16, 17. My telescope, I think the best I've seen is about 15 and a half, 15.6, 15.7. So maybe young, small 16s. But on the left image is kind of typical of what I saw. I saw like 4 of these galaxies, the 2 left bright ones, and then the spiral down here near the bottom. And then there was some other star because I saw 4 in a row. Of course, it was black and white and it wasn't as pretty as this picture here. But it's really neat to find clumps of galaxies like this. It's one, it's easy to identify what you're looking at because it's a big field of galaxies. Second thing is you can kind of work your way from brighter objects and try to find the really hard and obscure things by using your averted vision. And it's a really great test to really work on your skills observing. And this is a really cool one. I did not see it as nice as I would like. I think I saw like 2 arms, but not really the 3rd arm. This is sort of a famous galaxy. It's faint, but it's a 3-armed galaxy, and that's what makes it neat and a challenge. And when you're observing more so than photography, you're kind of looking for challenges, things that are harder to see, maybe more rare. And so I have, I think, one more slide. Recent astronomy news. Only one piece of news. What is that? Stan put out an email about this one comet, but actually there's 3 comets. There's the Atlas, the Swan, and the Lemon. And somebody took a picture just recently of these 2 comets. I had no idea they were that close together. I saw a picture at Okie-Tex. Somebody had a picture of one of these. It's probably the brighter one on the right, which is the Swan. And these are both purely ion tail. When you see, like in Hale-Bopp, we had the little kind of tail that came off at a circle. That's the dust. And then this and dust and maybe moisture. And then the straight part of the tail is the ion tail. And so that's more prominent in these. But great for taking pictures. I saw a really good picture. Like I said, I had no idea there was some comets out right now. And I did know about the supernova, but it's kind of boring because I didn't put it in my talk. That supernova is near Sagittarius, and it's pretty bright, but it kind of blends in with all the other stars. And it's kind of neater to see the supernovas that are in a distant galaxy because one, you know, you're seeing the galaxy, you see the supernova in the galaxy. Kind of hard to pick out a bright star that wasn't there before and go, oh, that's a supernova. And so since it looks like a star, I don't know, it's a little bit less spectacular. But we looked at it a little bit during Okie-Tex. And that's what I have. Thank you. I was working in that filter area, so it's all in that general vicinity. Yeah, we'll look at it when it's still up for Fort McCavish.
Okay, start part news.
I'll come right out and say this one is a community effort. Thanks to Doug. He helped me out with some pictures that I was missing. So anyways, there we go. All right. Had 4 major events happen at the Okie-Tex. Had A-Day at Insperity in 8A at Insperity. 28th, we had the Hack Winery. And then October 4th, we had the International Observe the Moon Night right here at UHCL. We'll talk about that as we go. Coming up, 16th through 19th. If you were thinking of going to the fort, you got to let me know. I pretty much have to turn in the, send in our reservation list, and that includes 3 guests, I think, 2 from San Antonio, 1 from Austin, that are going to be joining the group over the weekend per se, Friday, Saturday. They're there to want to check out the fort as far as everything we've talked about, check it all out as far as the Messier Marathon next month. El Dorado is going to be right afterward, 16, 19, then boom, 2025. Some may be just going to this, some may be daisy chaining. If you're daisy chaining the 2, let me know, so at least I can get you on the fort one. October 28th, Tuesday, we got one for Armand Bayou Nature Center. They asked for that one. We were able to line that one up. November 1st, Sun and Moon Night at the George. Also, November 1st, Evelyn Metter. That's a very popular one right out in Seabrook. November 15th, Magnolia Creek. And then somebody, what was it? Maybe it might have been Richard. Sent me the one from the other golf course that wants to try to get us on their docket. Yeah. All right. Sliding into 2026, 2019 through 23, ideally is our trip to the fort. It kind of got morphed into that mini multi-club Messier marathon. I was able to slightly put the brakes on it a little bit, saying we don't really need to be so regimented and plan it. And kept trying to tell them, 15 years of helping Lisa and all get these trips going to the fort. It all is going to transpire within about 6 weeks, as many of us well know. 6 weeks ahead of time, and one good weather forecast, it can all disappear in 10 days before. So they're going to get it. They'll get it figured out. I said, your better efforts are to try to contact all these clubs. April 9th through the 12th, this was asked for by the club. So JSC only to Fort McCavitt. It is 1 month later, but it's on a slightly waning moon night. The moon might crop up at about 3. Doug.
So, question on that, the spring trip, is that gonna be a 3-night, or are we gonna go 4 nights?
You mean to go all the way to Monday? For which one? 12th? Should be able to. I mean, the way Kevin was talking, they're very grateful to have us out there. So I think if we ask, we can do it. They've been kind of winding down on the reenactments that they were doing when they were under Texas Parks and Wildlife. So I'm not sure where their revenue is coming from. So I don't know if to some degree it's us. And then 8th through 12th, trip to the fort. These are dates actually now been hard confirmed already in advance. Okay, here's where I get in and thank folks. This is Okie-Tex, Doug, Reed, Stan, Brandon, Fred and Sandra Miller, Rodney, and Al. If on any of these that I report, if you were there and I don't have it on a slide, please let me know. It might have slipped through the cracks. All right, Stan and Al, Reed, and yeah, Whataburger pancakes. Thanks for the annotation. I missed that down there. That was cool. I didn't know they made pancakes, to be honest with you. I was used to making them from scratch, so there you go. But it looked like a pretty good event. Brandon, 2 scopes. And you guys went hiking around to the highest point in Oklahoma, and you're saying something about this. There's dinosaur tracks here. Oh, behind it. Okay, cool. Someday we'll make that one. And then I heard about this first on the HAS, that there was some bad weather that showed up there. What was it? The first night. After the storm, I take it this poor scope got picked up and plunked off of its mount. Hopefully nothing bad with the mirror, and nothing a little wood shop can't fix back here. It stayed collimated the whole time. Oh God. I've heard about things like that with TSP, with little dust devils go winding through, and I think Don Halter had a scope picked up and dropped.
See that same picture of Brandon's scope? Look right behind it. There's a guy that had an observatory on a trailer. See, he's got a trailer. It's a part observatory and part RV.
Oh my God.
Man, you don't see that.
No. He's got to have a big tongue for that. My goodness. I would have missed that. All right, Okie-Tex extra images from Reed Sea Star. Cool. 8 and 31. Yeah. Doug, Lion Nebula. I like that detail right in there, Doug. It was really cool. Hack Winery. Chris, Reed, Bob and Leslie, Jerry and Baihong, Stan, and Rick. Thank you guys again for making that one. I think we were in Dallas at the time that one took place. There's Stan. I'm sorry, Rick. Looked like it was a pretty decent night. Canted Bob, canted off to the side. Who is this dour looking rather gentleman? Albert? Okay. Well, I thank him for his efforts, even if he's not here or online. Leslie with the scopes, cool. Glad that turned out to be a good one too. Astronomy Day at Insperity. Chris and Angie Wells, Trevor, Mark, Paul, Stan, Rick, Lance, Doug, thank you very much for attending. I've heard from Aaron directly. There was over 1,200 in attendance. He finally,
Easy to believe.
easy to believe. He finally deserved this because he kept trying to run A-Day in the spring before the pandemic. And there are times, I swear, we had more volunteers than we had people show up. And Aaron was like almost getting depressed trying to run this because he got a great observatory, a great site to do it, great place to carry it off. I couldn't be any more tickled that this worked out for him.
They were running school buses from church parking
From the
lot across.
Church across the street, yeah.
Because Lance and I had a table for the George we're helping out. And we had to make a solar clock.
Yeah.
We call it. And they had to cut it out and then put the thing together, and we worked nonstop for 2 hours. We literally did not stop working with the kids for 2 hours. So there were a lot of kids there.
Cool. I'm glad it came off without hopefully without a hitch. I haven't heard anything bad, but I'm just glad it came off.
Yeah.
All these dish antennas. Cool. Saw that around the next couple of slides. Chris with a solar scope. There are the dishes. Boink, boink, boink. We got a dish. Anybody want one? Those look emissions from human bodies. Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're actually doing something serious. I thought it was somewhat of a joke for a picture, but cool. Mark and Paul. And then we had one here that I was feeling for this poor guy. This student, Tyler Lucio, you're not here by any chance, are you? No? Okay. He tried to get an International Observe the Moon Night out here, and the poor guy tried to get JSC and LPI involved. And then I think in the 11th hour, he found out those were dry wells. They weren't going to be able to come out and support and do very much. So he said, do we have some scopes? He said, my scope is somewhere else. I thank you very much, Bob and Leslie and Jerry and Bai Hung for coming out and supporting that one. Reed, did you make that one? You did? Okay. That's why I've got a question mark after your name, because I'm going to bust your chops here. You don't always RSVP, but I can count on you showing up. But I just don't know. Says, Reed going to be here or not? I don't know. If he's here, he's here. If the C star is there, you know he's here. So there we go. A few from UHCL I heard showed up, and 10 or 15 folks that probably came from the dorms out here. So it happened. I'm glad it happened for him. I'm glad Tyler's there, but it is what it is. All right. Whoa, this can't be good. Thank you very much, folks. Two poor little dinosaurs talking about starting.
All righty. Okay, so next month, November 14th here, we'll have Dr. Samina Masood, Biology in Space. Yeah, so we'll get to see all that. Okay, door prizes. By the way, door prize contributions are welcome. In the past, we've had too many door prizes. Now we're getting down to not having enough. So if you guys have door prizes, we're welcome to take them from you. All right. You gonna come back and do your presentation again? What's that? You don't want that anymore? I don't, okay, whatever. Al just gave me a moon map, so for some reason. Okay, look at your tickets. And first one is 293. 293. I think we're all here still, right?
Some people went.
Oh, they did? Unbelievable. Can't believe it. Okay, 292. All right, Rick, come on over here. Oh, Rick.
Well, always like there's a big applause.
Okay. Here we go. They're just happy that you can move. Okay, look, I have a big decal for your car.
Let me look through this.
No, that's not how it works. This is how it works. You don't change the rules. Okay, you get astro imagery, you put that on your car.
Yeah.
A big thing, see, because you took a picture one time. We got another one that says, that's not a decal. Let's sleep under the stars.
What else you got?
I got a moon map that Al just gave me for some reason. I've got, this is kind of cool, astronomy stargazing. It tells you all kinds of stuff about astronomy. That's actually really useful.
No, that's a possibility.
I got a map.
Hey, you really are down to it.
I told you, Saturn, Jupiter,
What's this? Let me see this.
map of Jupiter. Oh, Rick, this is really a good book.
I got it.
Okay, it is a good book.
It is, but it is a good book.
Yeah, Al gave me this book tonight. This is one of the classics of astronomy. I don't know why he's giving it. It's Night Watch.
Oh,
That's really a great book.
actually, it's a good book.
It really is. That's what I got, bud. You want that stuff?
I'll take this.
That's why we need more door prizes. Alrighty. Okay, 284. Got a 284? Who is it? David! Oh, let's see. I got a moon map. David, I got a moon map here. Okay, I'm not gonna do that to David. That's too mean. Oh, okay, David. Do you have this book, Night Watch? That's really good.
Connie and I both have copies.
Yeah, that's really an excellent book.
It's actually an excellent book for beginner.
It really is. Not just for beginners. This actually has the way to pronounce stuff in here, because you know those astronomers all pronounce stuff differently. This book tells you how to pronounce stuff correctly.
If I recall, it's got the 4 seasons of stars too, and how to use the stars as landmarks.
The decal says, let's sleep under the stars. Got that? Got astronomy stargazing information. Oh, David, here you go. Sorry, Rick, I forgot about this. I got one of these.
Sam Hill.
I don't know, but it's in the door prize box. I got that. You like any of this stuff? I got some light up keychain. I got a meter that worked.
Yeah, I donated that one.
Donated that one.
Harbor Freight voltometer.
Oh, hey, I got a photo filter.
Okay, I'll go for that.
Excellent. There you go. See, I lied to Rick. All right. I found more door prizes. Sorry. Unintentional. Okay, one more. 289. Who is 28? Oh, video. Come on down here. Okay, you start thinking on your way down here. Look, see this? Fiber optics. Okay, I have a ZWO keychain. Looks like a little camera.
I know what, you know what I want.
I don't know what you want.
Yeah, I want the book.
The book, it's really a good book. If you don't have this book, anybody, if you don't have this book, this is a classic. Definitely, that's what I would take. It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get you.
Thanks, Al.
And Al, thank you for bringing that book. That's really a wonderful door prize. Okay, that's it. See you at Mod Pizza. Hopefully you'll come back next month and bring your friends with you. Thank you for coming.